Hello and welcome to the latest episode of the Brass Junkies. I'm your host, Andrew Hitz, and I am joined by my beautiful and talented co-host, Lance LaDuke. Lance, how are you this evening?
Hi, I'm good. I feel good. Good. Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
You sound a little drunk.
No, uh-uh.
It's 8 p.m., so I was expecting that you would be, but I guess it's been a few years since I could say that.
No. You said
Anyway.
a little drunk.
I've said too much. This is a super interesting episode. In spite of us, Ken Waters, a trumpet player. That's Waters with two T's, and trumpet has two T's as well. Never thought of that synergy. How about that?
Yeah.
He is the brother of Harry Waters, which Harry is an alien, and Ken kind of is too. As you'll hear. But I shouldn't say that about Ken because I barely know him. Henry?
Seemed much normaler.
Henry Waters. No, he's like a normal version of Harry, but there's still some wiggle room to be a little bit alien. Yeah.
That's right.
But you can also tell instantly that his brain is operating on a level that's certainly above what yours is and even above what mine is operating at. So it's just kind of like he's a little bit of a genius.
I don't get it.
We had a fascinating conversation with him about Muscle Shoals. It was really
fascinating.
Yeah, I agreed. Just the whole process about how all of those hits over the years have been made, and as you'll hear about him, it was what a different world than the uptight classical world where he was talking about how he keeps his ringer off all morning long. Yeah. So he'd wake up at like 10 or 11 and then there'd be like a message from the producer at Muscle Shoals because he's the trumpet player saying, get in here. And he would like run to his car and, drive, what do you say, like an hour and a half or something like that. Yeah. And then he just whenever he shows up is when they record. So it's just like subbing with the, yeah, it's just like subbing with the National Symphony. They call you, they wait for you to get it, and then as soon as you show up, then they do the gig. So,
what's up, Maestro? How you doing?
Yeah.
There's a little bit of Sam Playford there for a second.
What's up?
Hey,
what's
how
up?
you doing? I'm Sam. We can get going now.
What's up, little man? Yeah. So sorry, that was a joke at the expense of the music director of the National Symphony, not Sam. So
I don't think he's listening. Well, either one.
Yeah, well, and he's not going to be the music director. Well, did he just step down? I don't know. Yeah, there you go. That's so that reminds me of my interview with Sam for the Band Director's Guide to Everything Tuba. The very beginning of the interview starts where I say, like Sam Palafian is like the Yoda of the tuba world, and I then said, and I'm not making a joke about your height, and he's and his response was, oh yeah, Andrew Hitz, nice guy. And that part, right? That part of the transcript just went right into the book. I was like, I'm not editing that out. So, and I honestly was thinking he's Yoda because he knows way too much about every possible aspect of tuba and of teaching and of music and everything. But then I realized there was a short joke that was it was low hanging fruit. So, I went with anytime you have the ability in book form to basically permanently take a shot at your mentor, you take it. So so we got to thank Parker Mouthpieces. I'm not sure. Why? Have you ever heard of Parker Mouthpieces?
Why do we have to thank him?
They provide our hosting. I don't even know what hosting is.
Thank you.
But I think we're supposed to be impressed by that.
Wow. Yay, Parker Mouthpieces.
Yes, Parker Mouthpieces offers fine, customizable component mouthpieces for horn, trombone, euphonium, which is like the baritone. I just want to get emails. They're basically the same thing. And tuba, which is basically just a brass serpent, including the Andrew Hitz artist model tuba mouthpiece and the Lance LaDuke model euphonium mouthpiece. Notice it's not the Lance LaDuke artist model. I'm just saying. You can find out more at parkermouthpieces.com or follow them on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.
Twitter.
Speaking of which, we're on Instagram now.
We are?
We are at the Brass Junkies.
No, it's Pray for Jens, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
What's the
okay.
number 4?
It's okay. I just run all the social media accounts. That was really funny. I was like, I'm sitting there going like, that doesn't sound right. I drove up the I drove up the Eastern Seaboard, just me, a dog, and a 3-year-old today. So in
your
summer,
dog and your 3-year-old.
It was my 3-year-old. I think it was my dog.
Okay.
Where we
Random dog and
yeah,
3-year-old. Get in.
the dog was cute. Yeah, exactly.
Who drove?
We're at Pray for Jens on Twitter, and also this is breaking news. We have a Facebook page, but I don't know if there's 0 friends because I haven't shared it yet. But I actually don't know if it's got the right URL because I got it so long ago that it might be the wrong URL. So Lance, why don't you thank the lovely people at Duquesne while I look up the correct Facebook URL so that I can share it with the people.
Happy to do that. So one of our other sponsors, and they have been a great sponsor for the last couple of months, is Duquesne University, the Mary Pappert School of Music, the brass area in particular. Jim Nova helped set that up. We have great faculty at Duquesne, members of the Pittsburgh Symphony Orchestra, as well as me. And don't let that slow you down. But if you're interested in finding out about the going on at Duquesne University, the Mary Pappert School of Music, you can click in the links in the show notes below, and you will find out everything that you want to find out about what opportunities there are to play, who the teachers are, audition requirements, stuff like that. So be sure to check that out. And thanks to Jim Nova for helping set that up. Jim Nova, our dear, dear friend. What do you think? Is he going to be excited about the? The eclipse is coming up, and he's all about space. Do you think he's
all
like
about
doing?
space.
It's just space, like, right? Because he did all those. What was the?
Jim actually it's a little awkward, but Jim actually wears eclipse glasses just around town, just in case there's an eclipse.
You never know.
Yeah,
it could happen. Freak eclipse broke out. I didn't know what to do. Good thing I had my glasses. I would have driven off the road.
He's able. He brags to people that he is able to stare at the sun. So
that's true.
Yeah, he wins bar bets while making his opponents blind. So it's pretty brilliant.
And he did the overdubs of what? The Martian, my favorite Martian, Lost in Space. Night Moon.
Good Night Moon. That's pretty good.
I cracked myself up. That's pretty good.
That is pretty good. That's once in a row. So I can't tell. Go to Facebook.com/pray4Jens. I am going to change the URL because I don't think it's right because we've been sitting on this for a while. But long story, but we need to have a Facebook page, which I haven't even talked to you about, but it's very important. So we can't have Instagram ads without having a linked Facebook page because you can't have paid Instagram posts without being a business, and you can't be a business page on Instagram, which is very smart from Instagram because Instagram is quite relevant with a lot of people and Facebook isn't. So they bought them for like $5 trillion, and now they're forcing themselves to remain relevant for a little while longer.
Heavens to Murgatroyd.
So it's like a mini TEM just busted out right in the middle of a TBJ. So, so I think that's going to do it, right?
Well, no.
Uh-oh.
We got to thank our Patreon patrons.
Oh, of course.
Because those are awesome.
Yes, they are.
And we want to thank each and every one of you who is currently a Patreon patron. If you're interested in becoming one, we have some incentives for you. We've started, in fact, I was a couple of days late in getting it done, but I uploaded a bonus episode for the Patreon patrons today. And so we're offering some additional content. The Brass Junkies podcast is always going to be free. It's always going to go up every other week for as long as we keep doing it, which I hope is a long, long time. But to thank the folks who are sponsors, we are giving them some additional content. So head over to patreon.com, Patreon, and it's under the Brass Junkies. So you can find us there, and you can contribute as little as $1 an episode. Or actually, you can contribute $1 a month if you wanted.
Yeah, I think so. It might be by episode actually, but anyway, yeah, help us out. We would really appreciate it. So,
and if you
yes.
would do us a favor and go to iTunes and leave us a review and give us a rating, that would be a big, big help for us. It helps us show up in the search categories, so that would be a big help. And then one last thing that you can do to help us out is to share this show with a friend. Let your friends know about it. And if there's people that you don't like, make sure that they subscribe because it'll just make them angry. Woodwind players. Recommend it to woodwind players. Just because. Ask them, where are the woodwind junkies? And
yeah.
The viola junkies?
I would listen to that.
I would too, actually.
It should be hosted by my friend Andrew Duckles, who's one of the funniest humans in existence. So he would crush that, but he's a little too busy because he plays too many gigs. So, yeah, he makes a crap load of money playing the viola as a freelancer. He's the top call violist in Los Angeles. So
joke is on who?
Yeah, exactly. So, all right. Well, I think that's going to do it for this 19.5-minute intro. And without further ado, since we just adoed a lot, we are going to get to our conversation with trumpet player Ken Waters. And today on the podcast, we are joined by trumpet legend, but really aren't they all?
Legend?
Well, kind of all of you people are. So it sounds like Harry Waters, but it's not. At least we think it is his brother Ken. It could just be that Harry set up a second Skype account.
It could be.
I would say, has anyone ever seen the two of you in the same place together? But yeah, many times. So, because you used to have a duo together. But anyway, or maybe you still do. I don't know.
We still do.
Yeah, there you go. So you like that? I broke the band up. I just put it in past tense.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Just broke up the Jazz Beatles.
Harry, Harry wanted me to tell you that he doesn't.
In your duo?
Yeah, how many? Harry wanted me to tell you that he doesn't want to do the duo anymore. So there's.
Oh, okay. This is how I find out. Okay.
A little awkward. So yeah. Actually, Lance, I thought that we should start by telling Ken about the first time that we tried to interview his brother for this podcast.
That's a good idea. So you've met your brother, right?
I think. I mean, his name rings a bell, and he's kind of skinny. I don't know.
He is kind of skinny.
Yep.
And he's I don't want to use the word scatterbrained, but I can't think of a better one. And so we tried to track him down a number of times, and finally he was convinced this was going to be a good time to do it. Right. And he might as well have been at an amusement park.
Yeah.
His kids were involved somehow, even though he was at work and he was backstage.
His kids were with him at work. Okay.
Yeah, and then he was like opening a granola bar for one of them while he was ironing his pants, getting ready to go do a gig, and people were talking to him, and he
was in the steam room on bass, and there were like people walking by, and he was like, "Hey, Sally," he's like, "Hey, I'm on a podcast," like, "Hey, but I gotta go," so yeah. And then he's like, "Okay, I'm back." Yeah.
That's Harry. I mean, when I call him, it's like that too. You know, he's completely dedicated to his kids, and it's great. I mean, you know, he travels all the time, doing guest artists and guest clinician spots all over the country, and sometimes all over the world. And he'll usually take one of his kids with him. He's got 3 little kids, so it's really cool. He won't take all 3, otherwise that would kill him. I mean, like, because they're all pretty young.
Right.
You know, you can't imagine. You know, it's like trying to herd cats and do your job at the same time.
Right.
But it's like that when I call him as well. You know?
Lance, and that's fine if like we're calling you, but like it was just funny that we were like, this was him being interviewed for a podcast, and he literally he had conversations with like a dozen other humans, and this whole thing lasted like 13 minutes.
Yeah,
it was like no,
cats, I gotta go.
Yeah, and then he was like, I'm really sorry, but I think I'm gonna have to reschedule this. And then we were like, no problem. He's a dear friend, whatever. But like we hung up, and then Lance and I looked at each other. It was like there was silence for like 5 seconds on video Skype, and then I don't remember if it was him or me first said, "What just happened?"
Yeah, what the hell? Yeah.
So, Lance, I just had an idea. we need to when this episode goes live, we need to release that that first Harry episode for our Patreon patrons because it's hilarious.
Good idea.
It's really funny.
I'd love to hear that.
We will, and we will also shoot you a copy of it. But for anyone who supports the show on Patreon, then we're going to post it there because it's If you ever went on Mr. Toad's Wild Ride at Disney World before they took it out, that's basically what his 12 minutes on the show was. So
that's pretty much That's
right in the middle of it. You dropped like a really good. Like primer tutorial on jazz improvisation. Like it was total mayhem, and then completely coherent for about 4 minutes.
Absolute gold, like economy of words. Like I mean, it was gold, and then it went right back to
it's like here, have some juice. Open the juice box. Here, give me that ball. Yeah.
Hey Sally, I'm steaming my pants. Yeah, like
say. Say, you sweet on my dame?
Oh goodness gracious! So
it's funny.
So it's nice to talk to the normal one.
Yes.
Really
actually, the truth is, Harry's the Type A. I'm not Type A, and most trumpet players are Type A personalities. I realize. You know, I mean, really the vast majority are.
That's a really polite way to put that.
Well, they kind of have to be in a way. I don't know. It's a polite way to put that. I mean, you know, lead players in particular. I'm not a lead player. I mean, I'm not who you would call if you wanted somebody to scream high notes in your band. You know, I'm more of what they call what they call what I do. You know, when I'm talking to y'all, I tell you I'm a jazz player, but what they call me here, I do a lot of recording in the Muscle Shoals area. I don't know if you're aware of Muscle Shoals, Alabama. All the hits that came out of there and stuff in the studios.
Sure.
It's a little area of, you know, probably 40,000 people. It's 4 little towns crammed together. Muscle Shoals is one of them, and I mean the Rolling Stones have recorded there. Linda Ronstadt, Paul Simon, Wilson Pickett. Like if you play a Saturday night wedding gig, about half of what you're going to play was originally done in Muscle Shoals.
Wow.
And so it's kind of cool. I mean, I'm a trumpet player there. I'm the main trumpet player. I'm lucky to be the guy that gets the call. I'm their so-called bitch, basically. Like when I get called, I gotta go. I mean, it happens sometimes at the very last minute. Most of the time, I don't know who I'm recording for. But what I was getting to is what they call me. They don't like to use the word jazz because it's really an R&B and soul scene that I'm recording for. It's horn section stuff. Every now and then you get a little solo break, but they call me a finesse player. So I don't know what that means. I mean, I guess it just means you don't just play the notes, you play it with some kind of style, you know. So, and you're able to improvise. So that's it.
I would take that title. That's a good title.
Yeah, I was going to say nobody's ever accused me of that.
Actually very few have until I mean, but one of the old guard veterans from Muscle Shoals said, "Yeah, man, you're what we used to call a finesse player." You know, I mean, in other words, I'm not a lead player, but I can play solos.
You're a day late and an octave short.
Yeah, pretty much. You know, but yeah, when Harry and I are together, he's clearly the Type A. You know, but it's like watching when we're on stage together. It's like watching a straight man and a comedian. You know, I'm kind of the straight man. I try to keep up, but as far as you know, I'm not as quick-witted or as just flat out insane at times as my brother. You know.
Yeah, but, he's on the edge.
Yeah, you know, but he is brilliant. I'll tell you. He really
boys got edge.
Yeah, them boys got edge.
So what have you been re-recording down there recently? Like what have been some cool gigs?
The last thing I did that was with a big name. I've recorded with artists like Willie Hightower, Eddie Floyd. Y'all know their music, Knock on Wood, and all that stuff. I did a remake of "Achy Breaky Heart" by Billy Ray Cyrus. Yeah, the copyrights had apparently. The copyright had ran out or something, and he needed to re-record it. And so he chose to do it in Muscle Shoals rather than Nashville, just to get that sound. There's a certain sound that comes out of the Shoals, an R&B sound that you hear on all those records.
Yeah, why is that?
I don't know. It's just a group of the rhythm section that they put together back in the late '60s or the mid '60s. Those guys are still around and still making records. Like you've heard the song "I'll Take You There," by the Staple Singers. They did it there at Muscle Shoals, and all those guys are still around, still making the records. And it's that R&B sound that Billy Ray Cyrus was going for when he recorded the new version of "Achy Breaky Heart." It sounds more like a Wilson Pickett song now. It sounds like Mustang Sally rather than a country song. So it's kind of cool. But yeah, I've been recording with a whole bunch of different people over there, and most of the time, to be honest, I don't know who I'm recording for. I just go in and we do the stuff, and it's you get paid and you leave. But sometimes it's who the artists are. We have something coming up with Smash Mouth over there.
Oh, cool.
They're going to be that'll be nice. That'll be fun. And they do a lot of commercials over there and stuff. But it's the closest thing to a day job that a playing professional musician can have, because the hours are actually civil. I mean, I have an all-day session tomorrow. I'm recording an album with, I'm not sure who they are, but they're an up-and-coming band out of Nashville, I believe. And we're going to do the whole record tomorrow. So we'll put horns on it. It's going to be me and Billy Bargetzi and the sax player Brad Ewan, who is the regular guy. And the three of us we're the Muscle Shoals horns pretty much. We go by the name Alabama Horns because the Muscle Shoals Horns is a copywritten name. So, but anyway, the session starts at 10 a.m. and I'll probably be finished by 6. So, it's like a day's work. It's kind of nice. It's nice not to get home at 2 in the morning. But.
Well, that's for sure. How busy is it down there? I mean, how much work are you doing in a typical month?
I'm there at least 8 to 10 times a month. So,
wow.
Yeah,
there you go.
It's busy.
Wow.
Lately it's been kind of weird. I've been waking up. I usually put my phone on airplane mode when I sleep, and then I wake up, between 8 and 10, usually in the morning, Central Time. So I sleep in, and I turn my phone off airplane mode, and there'll be a couple texts, like screaming out of my phone. It's like, how soon can you get to the Shoals? Because I live an hour and a half away, so I have to basically brush my teeth, put a baseball cap on, sweatpants on, and jump in the car and go. So I never forget to brush my teeth. So.
It doesn't matter how good you sound. If you show up without pants, then you're probably not coming back.
Well, not necessarily. We're talking about Muscle Shoals here.
All right, fair enough.
Some crazy times.
For some reason, I think that I mentioned this before on the podcast because I think somebody in a previous episode mentioned Smash Mouth, but everyone needs to Google Smash Mouth Oakland A's Twitter war. Because
that's pretty funny.
Yeah, Smash Mouth and the professional baseball team, the Oakland Athletics, the official accounts for both of them got into a phenomenal back and forth Twitter war that was it's worth your time. So
what was it? What could they possibly have had the problem about?
It was something to the Coco Crisp, who was an outfielder for the A's. He might still be on there actually. He got sat the last day of the season a couple of years ago, which meant that an escalator in his contract did not kick in, and so he then accused the team of. He accused. You took Lance out. You took him out with that. That nose blow was loud, so you just took him out.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
You're sharp, man.
It's all good.
Yeah.
So anyway, Smash Mouth then was bashing the A's for not playing Coco Crisp on the final day to screw him out of his money, and then the A's proceeded to point out that Smash Mouth hadn't had a hit in a very long time, and and then it just went back and forth, and it's if you like awkwardness, in public awkwardness, check it out.
Okay, I do like that. Yeah. I'm an appreciator of public awkwardness. People airing their dirty laundry and showing their butt in public.
Yeah.
We're getting numb to it these days, though.
Yeah.
You're not kidding. We won't go there, but we can go there if you want to, but I don't know if you're.
We'll pull up.
Yeah.
So let's unpack. So you've brushed your teeth and put your sweatpants on and a baseball cap, and an hour and a half later you're there. You walk in, and what happens?
we walk in, and then, well, all of us are pretty much arriving at the same time. If Billy and Brad is always the first one there because he's a sax player. He lives in Muscle Shoals. He literally lives, a 5-minute walk away from the studio. So, but Billy's also in Huntsville, so he's coming from Huntsville. So he probably knew about it a little earlier because he's got more normal hours than I do. He gets up like at a civilized time of day,
Right.
and around 8 a.m. or so. So he may have already been there. And then I walk in, and we walk into the control booth. We meet the artists, and we get an idea of what they want, and when they want horn parts, and what kind of horn parts they want. And then they'll sing it to, like, the guy who's producing the record, whether it's the lead singer or the songwriter of the song, or just an outside producer. We'll listen to the song in real time, and he'll sing licks in either Billy or my ear. Okay, because Billy and I both have pretty much equally good relative pitch. We have pretty quick ears. That's if I have any strength, that's probably my biggest one. And then we show it to the sax player. We get a lick together, like ba-da-ba-da-da-da-da, just something like that. And then we'll show it to the sax player, and then we'll go straight in, record it, and then we'll usually at that point stay in the studio. We'll stay in record mode, and then we'll listen to the next portion that needs done, and we'll get an idea, and then we'll take the headphones off. We'll say, guys, give us 2 minutes. We'll take the headphones off after hearing a section that they want horns. We'll take the headphones off, and the three of us will work something out, and we'll say, try this. And they always roll tape the first time in case we get it. And sometimes we do get it the first take. We're a pretty tight section. We've been playing together for years. We can read each other's minds pretty well. But and then if they like it, they'll keep it. If they don't, they don't. I mean, it's amazing the difference between what you remember recording and when you hear the final product, what you hear. I mean, they'll move stuff around. They'll move one note around. They'll change a lick. They'll take like the first note of one lick and move it to the last note of the same lick or something. And, it's amazing what Pro Tools can do. Right. But yeah, wow. And basically we try to get the Muscle Shoals / Memphis horn section sound. And what that entails, believe it or not, is one trumpet track. Okay. So I actually have to work the least. And like 2 to 3 tenor tracks, a Barry track, and 2 trombone tracks. So, then you hear there's only 3 of us doing it, but you hear at least 6 or 7. But you only hear one of me. There's only one trumpet.
That's awesome. So the sax player literally does 4 times as much playing as you do.
Yes.
You got it figured out, man. Look at that.
Yeah, I know. You. I picked the right instrument. It's good.
That's great.
But we figured it out. He and I do a lot of work, just the 2 of us together. Sometimes the artist just wants that real Memphis sound, and they didn't use trombone back in the day. Back in the mid '60s and early '70s when they were recording the R&B hits, they used trumpet, tenor, and Barry sax, and every now and then alto. But sometimes they want that original sound. So the sax player and I, we do a lot of gigging together outside of the studio as well. We do a lot of live stuff, and it's never local, of course. We have to drive places, and we'll ride together. Like we'll ride down to the coast, the Alabama coast, and play in Mobile or in Florida or something like that. And we were riding down there together for a gig in Sandestin, Florida about a year ago, and we realized how they got their sound. And it was 1 trumpet take. It was 3 tenor tracks and then 1 Barry track. So, and when you double the trumpet, it tends to start to sound electronic, and so you have to be careful with that. I mean, that's one thing I love about what's going on in the studios these days in Muscle Shoals. They're completely they're going retro as far as live versus electronic sounds. They want everything on the record. Somebody has to have played it. I mean, with a real instrument that really makes that sound. I mean, they have B3 organ. They have all kinds of keyboards and stuff, but they don't use synthesized anything. I mean, it's great. So
that's a good trend.
Who
Yeah.
who was or were the original trumpet guys, and do you know those guys?
Yeah, they're still. Harrison Calloway was the main guy, and he just passed away. It wasn't long ago, about 6 months ago, probably. And he did a lot of the records. And Jack Peck is another guy. He's a trumpet player with, literally, he has one arm, and luckily it's his right arm. You know, he's able to play. Yeah, I mean, he's a great guy. He jokes about it. He's the guy who played trumpet on When a Man Loves a Woman.
Oh,
And,
wow.
yeah, and Jack still cusses his brains out every time he hears that. He thought it was a demo, or he thought it was just a rehearsal take. And the producer, Rick Hall, they made a movie about Muscle Shoals, and it's really all about Rick Hall, the producer who put them on the map. He said, "That's it, guys, you're done." And Jack went storming into the production room apparently and just said, "No, that's not it, because there are a few issues that Jack has problems with the trumpet part on that I think a lot of people know about. But anyway, but yeah.
So how did you take, I don't mean to say take lessons, but you sort of had to learn or adapt to this style. Did you talk to those guys about it, or what they did, or how they did it, or
no,
you sort of
just
figure
listen.
it out?
Just listen.
Yeah.
Listen to the old records that they made and try to sound like that. And try to sound like Wayne Jackson in Memphis, and he was the Memphis Horns trumpet player. And, I just listened to the guys that came before me, just like with jazz, and then the big thing is you have to have that thing with the players that you're playing with in the horn section where everybody's listening to each other. Everybody's devoting 25% of their attention to themselves and 75% to the horn players around them. And if everybody does that, then the magic truly happens. I mean, that's when the horn section starts to sound like something greater than the individual parts.
So cool.
And it's so magical.
I'd love to hear some more about you. About you composing on the spot. Coming up with these licks and these riffs. I remember. First time I met Michael Davis, who the great trombone player who toured with the Rolling Stones, did like maybe 4 world tours with the Rolling Stones, and he talked about how when the horn section would that they would be asked to come up with a lick like in rehearsal, they would just stand around doing nothing. Then all of a sudden they were asked, and he said that the number one rule in the Rolling Stones was to make sure that the horn line did not in any way compete with with Mick Jagger's vocals. Exactly.
That's exactly right.
Yep. Yeah. And so can you give us a little bit of, I'm sure it's on autopilot at this point because you're so great at it, but can you tell us, like, what are you thinking about and what are the things you have to keep in mind to do that well and so quickly?
You have to really listen to the vocal. Unfortunately, sometimes we're working with scratch vocal tracks when we record. Sometimes it's not the final, but especially when we're listening to the final vocal track, then we know exactly what we have to fill if they want to fill there. Right. And when I'm coming up with a line, I just try to think of something that's not jazzy at all. Okay, it's got to be right in the vein. It can't be what jazz players would consider to be hip. Like no major 7s, no sharp 11s. Okay.
They should call Lance and I then. That's all we're capable of coming up with. So.
No, it's great, but you just try to think of something that's logical. I mean, that makes sense. Like if the singer goes da 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 ba da ba da ba da, actually that's too many notes. Ba da 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 da. Simple is good. More, less is more. I mean, for sure. Right. And we just come up with, and I have an easier time composing in general when I'm not holding a trumpet or when I'm not near an instrument. I mean, if I'm holding my horn or sitting at a piano, then what I come up with is going to sound contrived. It's going to sound a little too mathematical, or it's going to just sound contrived, and it'll sound much more organic if I'm not anywhere near an instrument. If I'm, and that goes for my original jazz tunes as well. I mean, I try to write the melodies first, and then so if I'm not near an instrument writing a melody for a jazz tune, it's going to sound like almost a folk tune. I mean, it'll be kind of overly simplified for a jazz song. And then I come back and then I take that melody and then I throw a wrench in it with the chord changes underneath it, turn it into a jazz song. So, but I don't know. The older I get, the more I learn, though, that less is more. So with every style, really.
Yeah.
And that's tough. When you're a jazz player, you want to use your chops. You know, you want to show people what you can do and everything. But really, what our job is as jazz players is to compose a new song over the chordal framework of the standard you're playing on. You know, and the best solos that have gone down in history are new songs in themselves. You know, they could be songs. So I don't know. I know that's true with there's a Clifford Brown solo, I think, on September song. I think that's the song. Somebody's going to call in and probably correct me on this one. But he made a record with Sarah Vaughan, and yeah, it's his solo on that song that everybody in the trumpet world, they kind of cite that as his most perfect solo that he ever did because it's a song in itself, you know. Wow. And yeah, Till Bronner is a great person for that as well. I don't know if y'all know about Till Bronner. No. He's a German trumpet player. He speaks good English. You need to interview him, unless y'all speak German. But anyway, yeah, me too. But his solos are the same way. They're like new songs, and that's really, and that carries over into what we do in the studios, you know, in Muscle Shoals. What we try to add as a horn section when we add these little licks are things that go directly along with the song itself. Everything has to strengthen the song, and it doesn't need to bring too much attention to the horns because we're there for support. We're like support beams on a house, you know. We have to be there, but what we do, it's not all about us. We have to realize that. And I think a lot of studio horn sections nowadays make the mistake of thinking that it's all about them, and they overvoice stuff. You know, 1-3-5 is just fine. I mean, it's really great, you know, or 3-5-1, or you know, 5-1-3, whatever. Right. That's the best way to do it. So,
how do you get to that headspace where you're trying to call out the best stuff?
That's a real good question. And it's hard to do sometimes when you're in a control room surrounded by the engineer, the producer, and half the band, as well as the horn players. But you have to kind of go off by yourself, you know, for a second, and then sing the song. You know, by the time it's time to put horns on it, you've heard the song a couple times. So you sing the song, you sing the song to yourself, and you just relax and you think, what belongs here? You know, what would strengthen this? So, I guess as far as that answer, yeah. I mean, as far as in the studio, that's how it goes. Now, when I'm writing jazz tunes, I get to that headspace by driving around or taking walks. You know. No. And I always have my phone with me, so if I come up with a melody that's worth pursuing, you know, if it just comes to me, then I'll sing it into my phone, you know, and then I'll take it back and, you know, make sure that it's viable, you know, and then I'll play it on the piano and put chords to it, put chords that wouldn't necessarily go with the melody, like turn it into a jazz song via chords, rather than making the melody really crazy and hip, you know.
You know, that reminds me of there were a few years when anytime that your brother was on the Christmas tour with Boston Brass, he would always do a featured tune. And we
Flight of the Bumblebee?
No. Flight of the Christmas Bumblebee. No. And we were talking about Wes Funderburk, which we should talk about him some too, before the thing started, just because he's crazy, so I like talking about him. But your brother, this just reminded me of it, where you were talking about, you know, a melody, and then you made it a jazz tune via the chords.
Yes.
Your brother brought a harmonically insane arrangement of I'll Be Home for Christmas, which was just trombone and, you know, him, and then piano, drums, and me on tuba, and it was just cool. And it was incredible. I mean, that was like some of the most fun I've ever had playing the tuba, and just hearing these crazy chords that totally worked, but while your brother was just effortlessly playing, the written melody, with barely
Right.
even, and then his solos were just exquisite, and he's
Yeah.
able to play 1,000,000 notes a minute, or like play like a Miles number of notes in a minute. I mean, and
Right.
everything in between, which is just, yeah, but that's exactly what I just thought of. It was phenomenal.
Yeah. Harry is phenomenal. I mean, he really is. I mean, growing up, I'm really fortunate to have had him as an older brother growing up. I mean, he was the best teacher without being an outright teacher that I've ever had.
How many years older than you is he?
He's 22 months older, so he's 2 years older.
There you
Oh,
go.
that's my brother and me the same way.
Really?
Mhm.
Okay. Are you the oldest?
I'm the older one. Yep.
Yeah. Well, so you're the type A. I got you.
Apparently.
Yeah. Well, Harry taught me to transpose from real book key to trumpet key when I was in 7th or 8th grade, and he made me do it. I mean, he like a big brother orders his little brother around. He made me do that. He's like, he sat me down in the garage one day. I think I was in 7th grade, and he gave me like several standards in lead sheets, concert lead sheets, treble clef, and just said, write these out for trumpet, as fast as possible, and show them to me. Show them to me as soon as you're done. So I'm like, I want to go play. I don't want to do this. My friends are going to go climb the water tower. I didn't want. But
I hate you, Harry.
So yeah, but I sure appreciate him now, because he taught me how to transpose like that at a very early age. So as a result, hang on, my phone is ringing. I forgot to silence it. Anyway, it's about a wedding gig I have on Sunday. Anyway,
yeah, they just broke up.
yeah, right. That happens more often than you think, by the way. Yeah. Wedding gigs get canceled all the time. Yeah, because one of them cheats on the other, and then so guess what? We're out of work. It costs a lot of people a lot of money when that happens. But anyway,
your indiscretions are messing with my mortgage.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, but yeah, Harry, and one of the biggest things that he ever did for me growing up was when I was in 9th grade and he was in 11th grade. We went to Grissom High School in Huntsville, which has a really good jazz program, and it did back then too. The director was named Jim Sparks. He was an incredible band director. He was a hard ass, if you don't mind me using that language. Sorry.
Jeez,
but,
man.
That's nothing compared to the language. But he got his point across. I mean, he got us to do what we needed to do. But my first day as a freshman, I had to play an improv solo on an F blues called In Quincy's Bag. And I don't remember who wrote it. Quincy Jones didn't write it. It's probably Sammy Nestico. And it was just a concert F blues, but I had no idea what I was doing. I mean, I would let me see here. It'd be like, okay. With that kind of crap, and I mean, stuff that sounds like absolute beginner stuff. I mean, I could operate the trumpet okay, but I couldn't swing if I was hanging. And so this went on for the first 2 weeks of high school, right? And finally one day, jazz band was the last period of the day. So after jazz band, we went home. And one day after jazz band, I played that same lame solo again. And about 2 weeks into the year, and Harry grabbed my ear and dragged me to. He first had me put my horn away, and then he literally grabbed me by the ear and took me to the car and threw me in the car and didn't talk at all on the way home. He was so mad at me for not being able to swing. And he locked me in his bedroom for the rest of the day with a Louis Bellson record that had a perfect Blue Mitchell solo in F blues.
Nice.
And he said, by the end of tonight, I don't want to be able to tell if you're playing or not playing. Like you got to learn this solo and you got to play along with it and you got to sound just like him. I mean, exactly like him.
Wow.
And from then on, I kind of understood swing. It's like that gets you going. Sometimes it takes a shock like that, but it took several hours anyway. And I'm still learning to swing. So I don't know, but Harry got me started. So anyway.
That's pretty funny. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Andrew, but I think that's the first time we've actually had anybody play a brass instrument on the podcast.
That is,
yeah, and it was wonderful too.
Yeah.
Terrible.
Like,
Yeah.
I played this
Do not
crappy
imitate
solo,
that.
something like
Yeah.
this, and we both were like, "Oh,
Yeah.
cool! There we go."
Yeah, you hear nothing but F, 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 F. Yeah.
So from now
Sounds
now
like me
on,
soloing.
yeah, from now, yeah, especially if it's in the key of E. The from now on, we can tell guests that they're allowed to play, but only if they're impersonating themselves in middle school.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
That could be
Yeah.
our new bit if we ever get tired of making fun of Jens's imaginary chop problems, but that will probably never happen. So,
Yeah. No,
oh goodness,
yeah, I'm not going to use it as a prop. Don't worry.
that's
I
all
put it
good.
down. It's across the room from me now. So.
he's like
No, it was fantastic.
no, that was great. He's like the Gallagher of podcast guests.
Yeah.
It's all
Yeah, my trumpet is a watermelon.
handing out raincoats.
Yeah.
My trumpet is a watermelon.
Man.
There's your next album title.
Yeah, man.
That's a good one. My trumpet is the watermelon.
The
Yeah.
watermelon. Okay.
Let people just guess for years what that's all about.
I
you
just
know?
heard that to the
Be
tune
fun.
of John Mayer's "Your Body Is a Wonderland."
Yeah,
Your trumpet
my
is a
trumpet
watermelon.
Is the watermelon.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
That works.
Oh,
That
nice.
works.
So how did you meet Billy and the sax player? How long? You said you've been working with those guys a long time. How did you?
Well,
kinda develop that?
Billy went to Grissom High School as well, and he was
That's right. I remember him. We had him on the podcast.
Yeah.
And I kind of remember him telling that.
Right.
Yeah, he was there 3 or 4 years. He was 3 or 4 years younger than me, you know. And I was old for my grade because I was born in summer. So Harry and I both were kind of the oldest ones in our class. Our parents started us late. So Billy is actually, I think, 3 years younger than I am, and either 2 or 3 years. But he was like 4 grade levels away from me or something. You know, we weren't there at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
We were 1 year apart from each other. So, and part of that, now I remember, I went to Interlochen Arts Academy for my senior year of high school.
Oh wow.
Oh,
So,
no kidding.
yeah,
Cool.
and yeah, it made the band director pretty upset, but at Grissom, but that's all right.
Sounds like that wasn't that hard to do.
Yeah, it was very easy to make him mad. His nickname for me, by the way, was Pubic Head. He called me that. He would more often than not, for the first couple of years I was there, he'd say, "Hey, Pubic Head, play the solo from letter 49 or from number 49 to 86, you know, or whatever."
Can you say that was not 2017?
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah, sorry.
You'd get
hilarious.
you'd get fired wicked fast, as we say up in
Oh,
Boston.
I know. Yeah, he got away with quite a bit that you wouldn't now, you know. But anyway, but we didn't mind. He was a good teacher.
I won't say the name of the school, but I used to teach lessons on the north side of Chicago when I was in at Northwestern, and I was teaching a kid in a practice room, and I happened to be able to see out of the window of this practice room. I could see into the band director's office. And I think what I found out happened was that there was like 4 kids that all told him in a row that they couldn't make the concert that, like, you know, was in like 5 days and had been on the books since September. And the 4th kid to walk in and tell him that, I just happened to be looking out just in time to see him. He was literally turned like purple, and he had a vein bulging out of his forehead, and he leaned down and he lifted up a metal trash can, and he didn't throw it anywhere near the kid. It was like to the side, but he from over his head, like Donkey Kong, slammed the trash can down on the floor, which bounced so high off of the ground that it came back up into view in the windowsill. That's how hard.
God!
That's how hard
Yeah.
he threw it, and then he just screamed, "Get out!"
You're not talking about Jim Warwick, are you, at New Tree? Or...
No, I'm not.
Okay.
Uh-oh.
right.
No, I'm not. So,
Okay.
yeah, I don't think a fifth kid went in and told them that they couldn't go to the concert. I think that was.
I guess not. Yeah. I wouldn't tell them. I just wouldn't show up.
That's right. Yeah.
I'll deal with this later. Yeah.
Right.
Buy him a plastic trash can.
Yeah. Tell my mother I loved her.
Man. Oh, that's cool.
So talk to us about your duet with your duo, with Harry.
Well, we haven't recorded anything in a while. We just got back from playing in Illinois, in Sterling, Illinois, with the Sterling Municipal Band. And that's
cool.
That's really a great band. I mean, Sterling is a town. It's a small town of less than 2,000, about an hour west of Chicago. Okay, and I don't know if y'all know where Sterling is, but
I don't think so.
I don't know. Yeah, it's I don't know.
On the way to Rockford?
It's on the way to somewhere because a lot of people know where it is. At least if they've seen the exit.
It's on the way to
Harry
somewhere.
And I, we've both been up there a couple times in the past each as soloists, but they wanted to bring us both this time, and their dream was to have Harry and I and Natalie Cole, because I used to work with Natalie Cole, and which was with Wes Funderburk, by the way. But anyway, but Natalie passed away, unfortunately. But she, the person who does the hiring of the artists, went ahead and brought Harry and I anyway, and we had a great time. That was about a month ago, and we just had a terrific week together. It was a great reunion, and we have plans of making a new CD as soon as possible. So we're
pretty cool.
We're still signed to Summit Records, and so. Although these days the label you're on really doesn't matter as much as, but
that's right.
But Summit does get your product out there, and they make sure that it's pushed really hard to jazz radio, and that's a big expense right there. I mean, for an independent artist to hire a radio promoter, it costs an average of $500 to $600 a week, and you want to hire them for about 12 to 14 weeks. And so Summit is a great label in that they pick up the tab for that. They want their artists to be on the top 50 on the jazz charts. What used to be the Gavin charts, it's now Jazz Week charts. So they want their artists to crack that top 50. So they'll do what it takes. And it's high time that Harry and I put out another Brothers CD. This time it would be our fourth one, but so we've gone by Brothers. The first one was called Brothers. The second one was Brothers 2. Third one Brothers 3. But we don't want to call the next one Brothers 4 because that was a band. So I don't know.
Oh.
We'll have to think of another name.
Hence the stalemate.
Yeah, but I don't know. We just have to find time to do it. Harry has gotten so busy raising his kids and stuff like that, and Harry is truly one of the busiest musicians that I know, especially for a trombonist. I mean, my God. That's, no.
It is improbable.
He's always been employed. I mean, ever since college. I mean, he's gone through short bursts of unemployment, like maybe a week, but then he's so motivated. He gets, I heard when he did this podcast, him telling you the story about how he lost his job in Las Vegas and then found something again immediately.
Yep.
Yeah. While everybody else was sulking, Harry was looking for a job, and it's paid off.
Right.
So it's great.
There you go.
He's never actually taken the leap and just tried being a freelance trombonist like in New York City. I lived in New York for a lot of years in the 90s. I moved there in 89, lived there through 96, basically, and to go to Manhattan School of Music. And during one of Harry's short unemployed spells, I really put the pressure on him to come and just crash on my couch and give it a try in New York. He could stay there for free and all that, but he's always wanted to have steady employment, and I don't blame him for that. I mean, he's wanted security, and being a freelance musician, the security doesn't start happening until you've been in one place for a long time, and then you can look 2 or 3 months down the road at your calendar and know that you're working.
Sure.
You're going to be okay, but you still have to buy your own insurance, and that kind of thing. And Harry's always wanted to be employed, and I don't blame him for that. So he's pretty much been employed either by the Dukes of Dixieland, Walt Disney World, or the Army, through his whole professional career.
So, speaking of nut job trombone players, talk to us about working with Wes Funderburk. Do you have a good do you have a good Wes story that you can tell that is family friendly?
Well, oh man, I mean, every time you're around Wes, you leave with story. He's just so hilarious. The first time he ever called me, the first time I was living in Atlanta, I also lived there for about 6 years. And that was maybe 12 years ago. Okay. And I've been back in Huntsville now for the last 6 or so. But the first time Wes ever called me, we had never met before, and we were both living in Atlanta. Wes grew up there, of course. And he called me at 10 o'clock at night, like on a Thursday. And I happened to pick up my phone. I didn't recognize the number, and I usually let it go to voicemail, like most people do if they don't recognize the number. I figure if it's important, they'll leave a message. But I thought I'd go ahead and pick up because it was a Atlanta area code number. I thought it might be a gig for the weekend or something. Mm-hmm. And Wes said, "Hey man, how soon can you be at Dallas Austin studio down in Midtown Atlanta?" Dallas Austin is the guy who if you Google him, you'll be freaked out. I mean, he's worth over $80 million. You know, he's like a really well-known producer, and he put Boyz II Men on the map and a whole bunch of other people. He recorded Madonna, Whitney Houston, just a lot of people. His studio is just incredible.
I have to interrupt you for a second. One of my favorite quotes about music ever was my teacher Rex Martin at Northwestern. He referred to Boyz II Men as embellishment without melody.
That's perfect. That made me blow my nose again.
Yeah,
you're sharp.
That's right. It's like,
you're sharp.
Yeah, I get it.
All right.
But anyway, what had happened is Natalie Cole had come into town to record her Leaving CD. She's got one. It was maybe 2 or 3 CDs before she passed away. It's called Leaving, and it was her return to R&B rather than jazz. And she was trying to lay down these parts with a different bunch of horn players in Atlanta, apparently all day that day. And these guys couldn't do anything on the fly. Everything had to be written out for them, for all 3 of them. And so they weren't getting anything done. I mean, Natalie would sing in parts and they wouldn't quite get it and all that. They ended up getting 1 or 2 tracks on the CD, I think. But Natalie was panicking. She said, you know, what's going on? Are there no horn players that can play by ear in this whole city? You know, and one of the engineers happened to know Wes. He had known him from, I think they went to school together or something. But he said, yeah, I know a guy who can get guys. You know, so he called Wes, and Natalie was about to give up and take the project somewhere else for horns. You know, to do the horns maybe in either Muscle Shoals probably, or New York or L.A., you know, or Memphis. But she, anyway, she said, yeah, go ahead and call your buddy. And he did. And, well, Wes called me at 10 o'clock at night and said, all right, we got a session starting at midnight. And we've never worked together, but I've heard that you have good ears, you know, and you can do stuff fast. And the sax player is this guy named Will Scruggs, he's a great, well-known young guy, Atlanta sax player. You guys are typing about me. I can see you doing it. Anyway,
actually, I texted Wes and said that we were interviewing you and that he was telling stories about you, and there it is. Oh goodness, this is getting linked. And he said, ask him about his dance moves on Just the Two of Us.
Oh, God. I will email you. Yeah.
No,
okay.
I'm watching it. I'm watching it right now. So,
you're watching it?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, that's at a gig that we did in Atlanta. Yeah. I'll be glad to give anybody that wants dance lessons.
Yeah.
Just say the word. You know, I'll show you my moves.
Oh wow, Lance! It would be hard for either of us to look more awkward than this. This is spectacular.
That's why I work as much as I do.
That's awesome.
It's that dancing ability. Anybody listening, Google that. Google Ken Waters.
It's in the show notes.
Okay.
We are just click on it. So that's good.
Yeah.
So
that was fun. But anyway, the session. So we went down there, and then we all arrived at about 11:45, and we did the session till 5 a.m. with Natalie, and it went smooth as silk. It was fun. She used us on about 5 tracks, and she would just sing the licks in our ears, and the three of us would. It's the same thing as we do here in Muscle Shoals, just with a couple of with Atlanta players rather than Alabama bass players. So it was really fun. We had a great time.
That's not so bad. You got Natalie Cole singing in your ear.
Yeah.
Yeah, no doubt.
You talk about a sweetheart. I mean, she had no ego. I mean, she was so beyond the ego thing. I mean, all she cared about was making good music, and it was great. Her piano player, musical director, was named Gail. I can't remember her last name, but it's easy to find her on the Natalie Cole CDs. You know, if you look for any credits, she's wonderful. I had worked with her once before when I worked cruise ships, and I knew she was good. And when I saw her at the session, then I knew it was going to go smoothly. You know, so but yeah, I've got a picture of Natalie and me in the recording room. You know, with her singing a part to me and me looking at her. You know, with my horn. I'll send that to y'all. Yeah.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, I'll see if I can run that down and I'll send it to you. It's kind of cool. But she was just wearing sweats, you know, looking cute as a belle, you know. But it was great. It was a very fun session. We all left there at 6 a.m, got something to eat together, and just went home, you know. And everybody went to bed.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, it was fun. Yeah, but Wes had me dying laughing the whole time. I mean, he's just hilarious. And we've always had a great time together. Natalie, after that CD was made, we played quite a few gigs with Natalie live, you know, and she flew us to the Apollo up to New York from Atlanta to play at the Apollo. We were gone a total of 16 hours, I think, from leaving my doorstep to getting back to my doorstep, 16 hours, you know. But Wes kept it alive, you know. Having him around keeps things moving. It's really fun.
If you want to hear, have you heard the Brass Junkies with him and Tom Gibson?
No, but I want to.
Yeah,
I'm going to listen to it.
It's pretty funny. Yeah, as I think Lance said, because Tom actually gets into some like crazy good brass pedagogy, like really really similar to your brother dropping the 4 minutes of gold like in the middle of the mayhem of his aborted first attempt at an interview. Tom like laid out how to teach like the physical aspects of playing a brass instrument like as well as any guest we've ever had. But I think that Lance in the show notes said something like, be patient with this one, because the first like 10 minutes is just the four of us are on a group text and have been for like years now, and sometimes there'll be 2 months without anything, and then there'll be a day when there's 50 messages.
Right.
And if it ever saw the light of day, none of us would be allowed around children again, and you know, like we would all get fired from any regular gigs, and you know, it's just like, but it's so the first 10 minutes is just us being ourselves. And then we actually interview them. So but yeah, it's great. Both those guys are crazy talented. So
oh man, yeah, you're not kidding. I mean, you
both
know,
words.
Yeah, for my money, Wes Funderburk and Billy Barghesi are the two top trombonists in the South. You know, and you know that's hard to say. I mean, of course, it's a subjective thing after a while.
Right.
You know, when you get to a certain level, but they're my personal favorites. You know, to work with. They're the easiest to work with and to play with. So they you know they use the 75-25 rule. You know, I mean, whether they realize they're doing it or not, you know, they're listening more to you than they are themselves. And when everybody does that in a section, that's when the magic truly happens. You know, if you have one person that's not doing that, then it can't happen. You know? Right. And it creates resentment. You know, it's like if you have to bend all the way over to meet somebody's phrasing to what they're doing, and they're not trying to meet you in the middle, then you end up with kind of a dark session, you know. And it's kind of unspoken. It's just kind of not as happy as it would be otherwise, you know. Right. But anyway,
that's like chamber music, man.
Yeah, it is just like chamber music. Yep.
Yeah, you know. Yeah, it would be. I mean, playing in a brass quintet, it's exactly the same thing. You want it to sound like a pipe organ, and the way to, you know, you want everybody to phrase really the same, you know. Right. And the way to do that is to let go of your ego, check your ego at the door, and just play with each other, you know. really listen.
There was one quintet that did that all the time, but they were like Hungarian. They didn't tour at all.
Oh, great. Okay.
They were around for like 6 months. Back in like 1978, but so it's
okay. I'll find them.
So it's possible.
Yeah, it can be done.
I would say they were called Hungarian Brass, but that they have that name. That band has to exist, so I won't say that. So since I'm talking out of my behind, so which is going to be a shock to all the listeners of the Brass Junkies. That's usually Lance.
You guys, so how long has this podcast been in existence?
2 years.
By the time this airs, it'll be close to 2.5.
2.5.
Yeah.
Great.
Right.
Yep.
Great, man.
Yep.
Yeah, and how many people are subscribed?
Well,
That's a good question.
Yeah, Apple actually doesn't give subscription data. So it's a little bit we get vague ideas, but yeah, there is no specific subscription numbers. So, but it's fun.
Every serious brass player I know knows about it, and they listen to it.
Oh, that's good to know.
Yeah.
Do you know any serious brass players?
Well, that's the other thing. Yeah, the one guy I know who's a serious brass player. No.
Is your brother, and he only listened to his own episode, right?
yeah, right.
So, speaking of serious brass players and serious issues, really, our dear friend Jens Lindemann, the Canadian national treasure that is Jens Lindemann, has been undergoing chop problems for, well, I guess at least 2.5 years since we brought this problem to light. And so we're wondering if you can join the likes of Joe Alessi and Billy Bargetzi and Carol Jansch and Ryan Anthony and of all these people
Wes
who have
Funderburk.
Wes Funderburk.
This is a crazy solution, but I swear it'll work. Okay. Jens needs to, number one, stop breathing before he plays. I mean, don't breathe.
Lock it down.
In fact, talk for a while until you're completely out of breath, and then start playing. Okay, and practice every phrase. Practice like that.
That helps. That helps release tension, right?
Yeah. Well, it'll just trust me. It'll do the job. The next thing he needs to do, I don't know if he has access to a makeup store anywhere near where he lives, but if he can get some clown makeup and put it on his mouth, okay, and paint a smiley face. I mean, it needs to be kind of a smirk, but not quite a complete smile, but almost a smirk on his face. That will do the job. And then he needs to look in the mirror when he plays and be aware of what his corners are doing.
I'm not
but it's important. Clown makeup.
Be aware of what your clown corners are doing while you play.
Yes.
I'm not sure if he's going to be able to find a makeup store in L.A. So
yeah, that's true. They're pretty hard to come by, as are makeup artists there.
They're pretty au naturel there, So
yeah. But if he can find somebody that can do the makeup for him every day, this is important. Probably within 15 minutes of rising in the morning, of getting out of bed, but before he's had his coffee.
So he needs clown makeup applied within 15 minutes of waking up.
And then a big mirror. A mirror that actually makes your head look bigger than it is. One of those kind that a car has where objects are bigger in the mirror than they appear. Yeah. He needs one of those, and then he needs to have the clown makeup, especially the mouth section. Doing the eyes and everything is just a plus. That helps. That's like putting a dime in your third valve thing, for a trumpet player. It kind of helps. It helps you to center your sound if you do the whole face. But yeah, the clown makeup, that's the ticket.
Clown corners. There you go.
100% sure.
That works. That works.
Yep.
All right. Works. Well, someone is now talking to Lance, so I think it's probably our cue to go. So,
okay.
It's my parole officer.
It's your parole officer. There you go.
Oh, good. Before you called, yeah. Good.
Come in. He just lifted up his pant leg to show the ankle bracelet. So, yeah. All right. Well.
Great. Great talking to y'all.
Yeah, great talking to you too. Thank you so much. And now I'm getting a phone call, which is this is chaos. This is complete and utter chaos.
This is your life. Yeah,
that's it.
Thank you for what you guys are doing.
This was cool, man.
Yeah.
Very, very cool.
Fascinating stuff about Muscle Shoals, and and even the West stuff was kind of interesting. So yeah.
Yes. Yeah, it is.
All right. Well, that is going to do it for another episode of the Brass Junkies. You've been listening to the Brass Junkies on the Pedal Note Media Podcast Network. If you would like to help support the podcast in order to make more episodes like this one possible, please visit pedalnotemedia.com/donate for more details. Also, be sure to check out our latest recording, The Brass Recording Project, at brassrecordingproject.com. The Brass Junkies is produced by Joey Santillo. Executive producers are Andrew Hitz and Lance LaDuke. This has been a presentation of the Pedal Note Media Podcast Network.